Like a shaft of light at the end of the tunnel comes the music of Nightsounds. Hello and welcome. I'm Bill Pearce with you in the late evening and early morning by means of radio. I don't know who you are, where you're coming from, what kind of a day you've had today. I do know that we're all in the same mold, however. Life fluctuates. Hills and valleys, emotional cycles, happenings. Tranquility followed by disaster. Some of you have had a wonderful day. Others are right in the middle, uneventful. Today was quite like yesterday and perhaps like tomorrow. Some of you are way, way down. I've titled my program tonight, Comfort in the Darkness. It's possible. And I hope and have prayed that tonight's program will be very special to you. Thank you for coming. The psalmist said, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Man was born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward." To the music of Nightsounds now, the Rick Powell Chorus and Orchestra. The waters are troubled.
There is a fountain for healing the soul, and those who will plunge in that stream are made whole. The waters are troubled, and so is your soul. The Spirit is moving. Be completely made whole. He knows you are broken and long to be free. He sees all the heartache that others can see. The waters are troubled, and so was my soul. The Spirit is moving. Be completely made whole.
I sat by the water of life's healing stream. No one to help me, no way to be free.
But Jesus loved me and spoke tenderly. I am the water. Just come to me. He knew what I needed before I could ask. He saw deep inside me, behind all my masks. The waters are troubled, and so is your soul. The
troubled. It was the Rick Powell Chorus and Orchestra on Nightsounds. Life can be a real drag for many people. In fact, most people, some of the time, and for some people, most of the time. There's really no easy way to explain this. We can't understand it. J.B. Phillips, the famous British author and translator, spoke of it as the dark night of the soul. I don't know as we should pretend that we understand it. But it does come, and we've got to learn to live with it without bitterness or self-pity. I guess the first thing that comes to our mind when we're beset with some sort of a tragedy or problem or catastrophe is that God has somehow forgotten us and allowed this to happen because He's walked off somewhere and doesn't care. Or is it that He loves some people more than others? Untroubled times are not evidence of God's special favor. William Perkeiser, in his book, When You Get to the End of Yourself, said, "To suppose that unruffled seas and blue skies are a token of divine approval is the cruel conceit of those with whom all things go well." Actually, conversely, some of God's choicest saints have suffered terribly. Years ago, in Philadelphia, my dad had a program on the air called Christian Voices. Often, we in the family, the children, my brother and sister and I, would play our brass instruments as part of the music. My mother was the soloist, they had a mixed quartet and an organist, and Christian Voices was on the air. My dad was the spokesman, and frequently he would read from the pen of one of these choice servants whom God allowed to suffer. Her name, Annie Johnson Flint. Her poetry was not written for the literary critics. Rather, as a biographer said, she wrote for the common people of the world, who face life with its burdens and its difficulties, and who try to trace the rainbow through the rain, and to perceive the bow in the cloud. Actually, as far as background was concerned, Miss Flint planned to become a concert pianist. But before the age of 20, arthritis, in one of its most crippling forms, laid hold of her. Within 5 years, she was hopelessly crippled. Many of her most inspiring verses of faith and hope were written in great pain, with a pencil that she could hardly move, written on a writing board suspended over the bed where she lay flat on her back in pain. It was so that she wrote, "God hath not promised skies always blue, flower-strewn pathways all our lives through. God hath not promised sun without rain, joy without sorrow, peace without pain. But God has promised strength for the day, rest for the labor, light for the way, grace for the trials, help from above, unfailing sympathy, undying love." When we get to the end of ourselves, we step out not into darkness and the void, but into the strong arms of God. When we can't understand, we can trust. When we cannot see, we can walk by faith. Life goes on, we go on, in His strength, sustained by the presence of the one who loves us when all other loves fail. Even when pain is so severe that we can't pray, the need of an obedient heart is the most eloquent petition ever heard at the throne of God. Let's remember that God not only knows, but as the singers say in just a moment, He cares.
Does Jesus care when I've tried and failed to resist some temptation strong? When for my deep grief there is no relief, though my tears flow all night long. Yes, He cares. I know that Jesus
He's touched with my grief.
Oh, when the days are weary, the long nights weary, I know that Jesus cares.
Paul Johnson at piano with the chorus, Does Jesus Care? Another poetess by the name of Mary Brainerd wrote, So I go on, not knowing. I would not if I might. I would rather walk in the dark with God than go alone in the light. I would rather walk with Him by faith than walk alone by sight. Do you suppose that one reason Jesus refused to take the drugged wine offered to Him at Calvary to help deaden the pain of the cross was because He knew that there'd be times when sedation would lose its power for us, and He would not take better care of Himself than can be taken of us in such an hour? Let's remember tonight that no Christian suffers alone. The eternal cross is witness to that fact. One of the most awful moments of history was when God turned His face away from Jesus on the cross. And Jesus cried out, my God, why hast Thou forsaken me? But He turned back to receive into His compassionate hands the Spirit offered to Him when the travail was finished. Another woman whom God has used in a mighty way, Eugenia Price, wrote, If life has offered you more tragedy than joy, this is no secret to God. If you are suffering physically, so that every new day stretches away pain, dimmed, and heavy, He knows. He knows about your fear, all the way from its cause to its devastating effect upon you right now. He is the God of the shaking hand and the tormented mind. He is the God of the heart torn by grief and the eyelids swollen from weeping. Jesus wept, and He still remembers the tight pressure of the heavy heart. We don't need to explain ourselves to Him. He already knows. And His promise is still, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. these words from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. And they were given to one who suffered. Not a chronic complainer, but no less than St. Paul himself. When Paul had a real affliction that he asked God to deliver him from. And Jesus said, no. Just remember, Paul, that my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Let's remember that tonight, too. I'd like to sing this song once again because of its meaning. Through it all, His promise is sure.
I've had many tears and sorrows, and I've had questions for tomorrow. There've been times I didn't know right from wrong. But in every situation, God gave blessed consolation, that my trials come to only make me strong. I've learned to depend upon His word.
I've learned I can depend upon His word. This is Nightsounds. I'm Bill Pearce in the late evening and early morning through radio. Thank you for coming my way. I appreciate you very much and very honored that you're here.
We'll get back to the program Nightsounds with Bill Pearce in just a moment. This is Libby again. You can have a tremendous impact for the Nightsounds ministry with this simple word-of-mouth advertising idea. Text or email 3 of your friends. Tell them about Nightsounds and Bill's comforting, thought-provoking dialogue and relaxing music. Tell your friends about your local radio station that carries Nightsounds by giving them the call letters, the dial position, and the time the station broadcasts the program. Or you can tell them about our updated website that has current and recent programs, the Nightsounds smartphone and tablet app, and you can tell them how to listen to Nightsounds on the Alexa smart speaker. I'd like to share this recent email with you. This is from a woman in Northeast Pennsylvania. I recently lost my husband. Then a few months later, my son passed away. Crying has been nonstop, especially at night when I tried to sleep. Recently, my son-in-law told me about a great local Christian radio station, WPEL, in Montrose, PA, that has wonderful music and programs. Last night, I tuned in to 96.5 and heard Nightsounds. Bill Pearce, speaking of grief, and the beautiful music he played was exactly what I needed. I slept immediately afterward, assured that God loved me and would continue to be with me. Thank you for Nightsounds. See what happens when you tell a friend or your mother-in-law about Night Sounds? Please help us and your friends by telling them about Night Sounds with Bill Pearce. A contribution would be greatly appreciated too. Go to our website, nightsoundsradio.org, and click the Donate tab. Go to the Night Sounds app and press the Donate tab. Or if you prefer mail, our address is Night Sounds, Box 29, Wheaton, Illinois, 60189.
Some years ago, we played this next recording, and it was so well received that I want to touch on it again tonight because it's a practical testimony, bringing to reality the things we've spoken of tonight. This happened in real life. That's why it means so much. It's not mere platitudes or beautiful poetic words and flowery thoughts we're into, but the truth of the dynamic of the keeping power of God in disaster. I don't know how many of you have lost someone through death. It's always a little worse sometimes when it's a child. That's why I've asked Ellen Roaton to come once again and share with us about how God kept her through one of the most unfortunate and devastating experiences of her life. It's called A Young Mother's Prayer. Let's listen to it to the glory of God.
A young mother's dreams are laid to rest in a little white bonnet and pretty pink dress. And when I think of heaven, it's not the gates of pearl, but when I think of heaven, it's my little baby girl. Our little babe was born on a bright and sunny day, but then the Lord decided, and he took Rochelle away. She was born so warm and tender, so innocent and sweet. But then the Lord decided, now she walks the golden streets. I dreamed of cheeks so rosy, of skin so soft and pink, of eyes that shone and sparkled and teased me as she winked. I dreamed of little fingers, of toes that stretched and curled. But then the Lord decided, and he took her from this world. Sometimes I find myself feeling down and all alone. But then I look to heaven, and I know she's found her home. My heart has been so richly blessed with the joys a baby brings. Yes, then the Lord decided, and he gave her angel wings. And a young mother's dreams are laid to rest in a little white bonnet and pretty pink dress. And when I go to heaven, I'll see those gates of pearl, and in the arms of Jesus, I'll find my baby girl.
Paul the Apostle said, I am persuaded, I am absolutely convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. From the book of the Romans, in the New Testament, chapter 8, verses 38 and 39. The orchestra now reminding us that we're not alone tonight. No one understands like Jesus. He's a friend beyond compare. No one understands like Jesus. The Daystar Orchestra with Bob Krogstad conducting. I guess radio is like any other opportunity, any other voice or vehicle of expression. It can be used or abused, and I hope tonight that it served us well. I'm glad to be a part of it, I know that. I appreciate the fact that you've been with me tonight. I pray that God has touched you in a very distinctive way. This is not my message. I guess I can just take the position of a delivery boy, bringing the message to you from someone else. It's God's message of comfort and encouragement and hope in the darkness of night. If I can be of any further help or service to you, our mailing address is Nightsounds, Wheaton, Illinois, 60187. Hope you have a good day tomorrow. In the interim, till we meet again on Nightsounds, a very pleasant and restful good night.